Welcome to Educational Psychology. This is Educational Psychology 1, which is a prerequisite for Educational Psychology 2. So, of course, they will both run across a semester each and will be completed across 2 semesters. This video is a brief overview of the module, what you can expect this semester, what we will cover, and the units, some detail in what we will cover in the units, and then, of course, what you can expect in terms of assessment and the way content is provided. I do hope that you enjoy this journey and that you are as excited as I am to help you find a definition of what educational psychology is to you. Let's start with the aims of this module. So on completion of this module, I would hope that you would have an understanding of what educational psychology is firstly. So remember, educational psychology is what we're focusing on as a field and not as the professional. We're not looking at educational psychologists, although we do so briefly, just to give an idea of the role they play. But educational psychology, as it is as part of your B.Ed program, is about how we use the various principles within the field to improve learner and teacher performance in class, motivation, ability to engage with each other, build relationships, and understand development. We will look into the historical development of the field. Historical development is very important because it shows us the important shifts taking place within the field in line with the political and socio-economic situations of the time. We will then look at the different schools of thought inherent to the field. We will look at, very interestingly, child development, and the focus will be from birth to year 18. So the purpose, which is related to the aims, the purpose of this module is to explain the historical development of educational psychology, distinguish between the various schools of thought, conceptualize an educational psychological framework, and this is in reference to the teaching and learning within the B.Ed program, and of course, really within any type of schooling or learning situation. And then I'm hoping that you will master the knowledge in relation to child development, what we can expect children to go through, what are the red flags, what we can hope that a child will be able to achieve by certain milestones, but also working with understanding that every child develops at a different pace and different rate, and therefore we need to support that process and help them to understand their own development process. So I do hope that we do achieve the purpose within the semester and that you are able to really understand the field and how it fits into the greater learning and teaching journey. To be more specific, we'll be learning about educational psychology, of course. As I said, the history, why we need educational psychology. So why is it important to be part of your academic journey as well as your skill set when you are a teacher and when you are presenting to your students in class and working within the school environment. And also we'll look at how it improves learning and how it improves the learning, excuse the little full stop there, but it looks at how we can improve the learning process for learners. And then again, a reminder, I said this in the earlier slide, remember that this is the discipline of educational psychology. We're not looking at the professions. We're not looking at educational psychologists because in educational psychology, we do diagnosis, we do testing and assessments of a different level. But in this program, we'll be looking at the discipline and the ideas around educational psychology, the skills around educational psychology, and what makes up the field. So in Unit 1, we'll be doing an introduction to educational psychology. It's good for us to step into it slowly and get an idea of what the field entails. We'll then look at the historical development. We will look at the different schools of thought, the relationship between education, psychology, teaching, and learning, and then we'll end off with child development from birth to the year of 18. We'll look at various domains within the developmental sphere, and that will be the emotional domain, ethical domain, cognitive, the model domain, as many domains as we can cover. Of course, it can't be an exhaustive list because we can't cover every single domain that does exist, but we'll touch on what I'm hoping are the important ones. Okay, so a good starting point. What is educational psychology? So before I go on to what educational psychology is, I want you to pause this video and think about, what is educational psychology to you? Have you heard the term before? If so, in which context? There is no wrong answer because it's just good for us to know, what is your starting point? What do you think it is? Is it something that you've been exposed to, or do you have absolutely no idea, which is also fine. So what I've done here is, it's not really necessary for you to read these, but I have extracted some definitions, and you can look at your own definitions. You can do some research and check out what various people say about educational psychology, but I thought I'd add these here just to start a process of thinking around this for yourself. So if you look at Skinner, and Skinner is someone you must have come across quite a bit, and we'll talk about Skinner through this journey as well. Skinner says that educational psychology is the branch of psychology. So it is a branch of psychology. So psychology is, let's call it the big umbrella field, and then within within psychology you have different parts of it, and so educational psychology, counseling, clinical, whatever the case is. So educational psychology, Skinner says, is the branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning, and that is true. It talks about the process of teaching and learning and lots of things that come along with it, which we'll discuss. And then Crow took what educational psychology being described describes and explains the learning experience of an individual from birth to old age. So the process of learning, how you learn, and not just learning within the classroom space, but learning as an individual who interacts with the world, engages with the world, how you learn about whatever happens around you, how you learn to emotionally deal with whatever's happening around you, how you learn to engage in a way that makes an impact on your environment. All of this is included. So educational psychology includes things around development, around motivation, around the teacher's role within the education process, the learner's expectations and the role within the learning process. We look at things such as individual differences, so we'll be looking at things around multiple intelligences, emotional intelligence, intelligence in general, as later on, perhaps when you have progressed through semester 1 and you move on to semester 2, we'll look at these things in a lot more detail. It also talks about motivation, problem solving, and so educational psychology is quite a broad field, and it's growing every day. When we get to the part on the historical development of the field, you'll see that previously educational psychology was really just focused on by the professionals, educational psychologists, and it was about finding a child, working one-on-one with a child, diagnosing them, almost talking about them as if they are a problem. So the child can't read, the child can't learn. And that mindset shift is so important from that, where we diagnose the child and make the child the let's say the barrier, or we talk about the child as having a barrier that is inherent to them and difficult to shift, but rather now we talk about how do we provide learners that may experience barriers with the support needed for them to be as successful as they possibly can. So we look at it in a healthier way, in a more open way, in a way that respects the child as the individual that they are. But again, as we continue the semester and into semester 2, your understanding around the field will grow a lot more. So let's get into some module specifics. What can you expect from me as a lecturer, and what can you expect the semester ahead? So I try to accommodate learner differences as much as possible. Each one of you learn in a different way. You engage with content in a different way, and therefore it is my responsibility to accommodate you as far as I possibly can. So I like making videos like this. I find that in some way they are allowing me to engage with you, even though it's quite one-sided, but it does help for you to have someone explain something, but it might not work for everybody. Some people might find these videos tedious, and therefore I've also included literature in the forms of textbooks, journal articles, guided reading, website reading. This allows you to then engage if you are more someone who prefers to read about a lot more and work at their own pace. That will be helpful for you. So I've tried to integrate various learning styles and provide various learning opportunities, and so hopefully you can put them all together and find something that works for you. And obviously you're going to have to contend with, in some situations, things that don't work for you very well. I do want to encourage you to read as many journal articles as possible. It's an important skill in academics because it does help you to get a snapshot of the field, what the research in that current field is at the time. And it's also short reads. Sometimes they're 3 or 4 pages, they can be longer, but it does just give you a good idea of a field in an easy, and sometimes it's quite technical language, but it's usually technical language specific to the field. So that is the way in which work is presented, I'm open for you to give me any ideas around what will work better for you. And also, if you want any of this explained, one-on-ones are definitely available for you when and as you need them. As I vary the way work is presented, I also vary assessments. I provide assessments for particular reasons. I never create or present an assessment that does not have a reason. So you might look at an assessment and think, oh, this seems quite mundane, very basic, but I've created and put it there for a reason. I want my assessments to not only give me an indication of how much you know or how much you've been able to engage with and internalize, but I also want my assessments to teach you a skill. So, for example, I will do things that such as create definition activities. Why? Definition activities help you to practice firstly your academic skill. You do the research, you present the definition in your own words, which means you are practicing the skill of paraphrasing, and then you're also practicing your skill of referencing because you'll have to add an in-text reference and a bibliographic reference as well. So that is teaching you a skill. Application tasks teach you a skill. The quiz teaches you a skill of going through and engaging with all of the information, sifting through all of that, internalizing the important, and then extracting what is specifically important for that quiz as well. So every assessment has a why. For this semester, I have started to explain the why because I found that students might not necessarily understand the reason I've chosen to add an assessment. So I will explain at the beginning of most assessments why I have decided to use this. Of course, the quizzes and the forums are self-explanatory, but the written tasks I will explain to you in a little bit more detail. Assessments for me important. Marks for me are not the most important thing. I know they are important to you as students, and so I do want to help you achieve the best possible mark that you can. But if you feel that you would like to get detailed feedback to improve, please feel free to let me know and I will help you as much as I can. What can you expect from me as a lecturer? You can expect dedication, most definitely. I will do lots of research to ensure that I present you with the best possible content I can. I would like to give you, and I try to always give as detailed feedback as possible. So these are quite specific. They are specific to your performance, not necessarily to the broader group. Sometimes I do give broad, if I see that there is a theme going on, I would give broad feedback to the whole group, the complete cohort, but generally I will give you detailed feedback on your assignments, tell you on areas that you can improve on areas that you're doing well in, because I believe in balanced feedback. It does take some time because my detailed is so feedback, excuse me, it does take some time because my feedback is so detailed, but I do want you to get something out of every assessment in a real way. You can expect openness. I'm very open to reflection. I enjoy reflection both for myself and for others. You can expect critique. I do give you as straightforward critique as possible because I want you to improve. I try to do so respectfully and to ensure that I'm doing it in a way that helps you and doesn't hinder your process at all. So I do believe in critique and I'm open to critique myself. You can expect engagement from me. Lots of mistakes. I do make mistakes, but I'm open to learning from them. And if you point them out to me, I do appreciate them. You can expect advice and guidance if you feel that I can give that to you. I will definitely have lots of humor. I do believe that humor helps to make engagement easier, and life, we shouldn't take life too seriously if we can. And then lastly, I am your cheerleader. I want you to succeed. I want you to do the very best you can. I expect hard work from you though. I expect you to put in as much effort as you possibly can, but I do at the end of the day want you to be successful and want you to leave this module feeling as if you learned something. A brief word on the summative task. The summative task will be available to you as early as I possibly can make it available to you. I've created a forum for you to discuss the summative task. So if there's any questions you have around, you are more than free to connect with me, connect with the tutor for this course, or connect with your classmates and talk about your summative task. Finally, let me say, do your own research, observe what's happening around you, reflect on what you see, happening in the country. And overall, my goal is always for myself and hopefully for my students as well to become agents of social change in the communities that you serve. Not just about being in a classroom, engaging with your learners briefly and getting a paycheck at the end of the day, because I know most of you, if not all of you, want more than that. You want to make an impact, you want to make a difference, and that is important because you would be a role model for many learners in your class, whether you know it or not. So the way that you operate, the way that you engage with them, the way that you engage with others, you're being watched all the time. If you're in a school, children are watching you all the time. They see things you don't know that they see. They notice that you wore that same outfit last Monday and you're wearing it this Monday too. So children will see everything. But remember that, recognize the important role that you play and take it seriously. Have fun, engage with them, remind them that they have a greater responsibility, not just to themselves and their families, but also to their communities. And if we remind students about that, if we remind them of the importance that they play in their societies, it could make a really huge difference. Let me end by saying good luck. I hope that you have a great semester. I've added some reminders here. Just remember to incorporate technology as much as possible because we're living in a world that requires us to engage with technology quite a bit. Support each other, work hard in improving your academic skills, and that means working on your referencing, paying attention to the feedback that lecturers give you, and working at improving at every single possible opportunity you have. I have had the pleasure of working with students from cluster 1 until they leave, and the growth is absolutely amazing. It's painful at the time, it's difficult when you get the same feedback all the time, or you get the lower mark than you thought you would have, but at the end of the day it really is worthwhile. And then provide feedback to me, give me comments, give me complaints, critique. I'm open to all of them. I'm going to really work hard, and I hope that you will do the same. I'm sorry that this video is so long. It was not my intent, but I hope that I've given you a bit of a snapshot of what you can expect this semester. All the best to you, and I'm looking forward to walking with you on this journey.